Hello, I'm Otto, and welcome back to Dyson Sphere program. So in the last episode, we tore down our starter base. We no longer need a lot of the components that we were making. We have builds for those somewhere else in the base in much larger quantities. And for the items that we were creating, some of the machines, we have a lot of those in our mall up here, so those are no longer a problem. We needed the space more than we needed the small amounts of machines and components that were coming out of that. So after we tore down the starter base, we made this build, which is the reformed refinement build. It is taking hydrogen and coal and converting it into very small amounts of refined oil. I did say that we would probably need more than one of these, and I did place two more, one of which is continuing to only accept local deliveries for the hydrogen, and the other one is in fact taking away from the remote. And I have since added all of the orbital collectors on the ice giant, the local ice giant. That is 40 orbital collectors that are now providing us with fire ice and hydrogen. After we made the reformed refinement build, we came over here and made this permanent in-game science area in the southern hemisphere, at the southern cap, I should say. And I want to talk a little bit about this. So as far as ratios go, we determined that we needed 10 of these stacks because each layer is creating 1 per second. So 10-second craft time times 10 gives us 1 item per second, 1 science per second. And this is stacked 7 high, so this is creating 7 per second. And if you look at the ingredients, the particle broadband, we would also need 7 per second. That is something we need to keep in mind. And the processors, we need 14 per second. And that is going to be a little bit of an issue because if you recall in the last episode, I did mention that on our other planet, we have completely run out of copper ore, so we are no longer creating processors on that side. And I did mention that I would place a few of the builds down, which I have done. If I can find them, here they are. So I've added in the plasma exciters, which was the last of the starter base items that we needed to craft. And then I have one here for the processors. So this is going to be a little bit of an issue because similar to how we had a hard time getting in the iron ore, we are going to have a little bit of a hard time getting in the silicon ore to create all of the silicon that we need for the microcrystalline components, and then into the processor. So this is going to be a little bit of a bottleneck in the future. But I did want to talk about the particle broadband. So these other two builds were a 2-ingredient build. This one is a 3-ingredient build. So what I did want to talk about with this, and we're going to actually go ahead and open this up so we can get some purple science going. So if we take a look, we can make 1 every 8 seconds. And if you recall, we have 10 of the assembling machines per row, so this is 40 in total. So you can also look at this at like we are making 40 every 8 seconds or 5 per second. So we need 7 per second to have enough for the purple science, which means that we're going to need a second one of these builds. The hard part with that is we also need to be bringing in the amount of items to supply this completely. And we're gonna look at plastic first. So I did place a plastic build here, which again is reusing an older build. We created the carbon nanotubes in a previous episode, and that is going to be the same build as this. If you recall, there are 44 machines crafting our 2-ingredient items here. And if we take a look, we can create 1 every 3 seconds per machine. So that means 44 every 3 seconds, which is giving us about 14 and a half per second. So ignoring the items that we need to craft that, we can look at this and say, all right, so we need 5 per second of the plastic coming in. This is 14 and a half, so we definitely have some wiggle room to be able to add another one of these builds and supply this. If you recall in a previous episode when we were doing the yellow science, we also determined that one of the plastic chemical plants would completely supply one of the organic crystal chemical plants. So that means that this is a 1-to-1. So for every 1 crystal, we need 1 full build of plastic. That means that even just what we have now, we will need a second plastic build. And one of these certainly has room to supply another particle broadband. So I'm going to add a second particle broadband build here. And then I'm going to add another plastic over here. So that'll make sure that we have the particle broadband covered. And the processors we will deal with at a later point in time. But once we unlock purple, as long as we just have something coming in, you can kind of see that the science is coming along just nice. There are also a few other sciences that I would like to unlock. We're going to hold off on the technologies. I want to focus on the upgrades. So since we're going to be making a build for the corvettes, that is a space item. And we definitely want to attack the dark fog soon. So we are also going to add the space fleet. That's gonna give us an extra 4 slots. And then we can go ahead and do this one, which is another 4 slots. So that is going to fill out one of our, like, the complete space fleet. And then this one will allow us to add a second space fleet with all of the the space combat units that these two can supply. So we are going to be doing that. That is as far as we can go. We can also add in some of the damage. So we can increase the space fighter damage here. We can increase the space fighter attack speed. And can we go? We cannot go farther than that. We could also do the durability. So we're going to queue up a few of those. Ground, not that big of a deal. We would be able to do a complete additional squadron. So if you want, you can queue those up, because if you're following along, you might be playing a little bit slower than I am, so you might have some dark fog piling up on other planets. So that is an easier way to take them out. We've already seen that we have no problem taking out the dark fog on default settings, at least in the earlier stages. So we need to make a build real quick for the corvettes. That is going to be over here next to the attack drones. So let's make a little space here. And we need to give this guy some power. We do not have a connection. That is going to be somewhere in here. Yes. Okay, so similarly to these builds, we're going to have a build, or we're going to have a belt that is coming in. And same thing, I'm only going to make 2 of these machines for now. If you get to the point where you need more, you can obviously add the other 4 later. But for now, we're just going to go with these 2. And we started somewhere on the back. We need an extra row for an item here. And it's going to look like that. I'm going to delete these 2 and delete the extra belt segment. So this is the output. We only need the Mark III for the output. And then we're going to have, let's see what we need. So we have the Corvette. We're going to get this, we're going to do 200. So we need the titanium alloy. We need thrusters, reinforced thrusters, all of which we have. Processors, which we're going to be struggling with soon. And the particle containers, which we already have a build for. So we're going to request in, let's just do like 500 of each. Maybe a little bit more of this. 1,000. And I'm not too concerned with the other ones. Actually, the thrusters, we can do just 1. Okay, so that's probably good enough. We're going to hold off on requesting those in for now. So we've already seen this build basically, so let's go ahead and just add them in. Let's not do thrusters there. We will do the next largest quantity. That means this one is processors, and then this last one is the thrusters. Reinforced thrusters. And then I do want to have some storage here, so we're going to go with the inline splitter. Add a little bit of a buffer, and we can buffer this to whatever quantity we want. I'm going to go with 2 stacks for now, so that'll allow us to take basically 2 stacks out and then resupply. So that just goes into here. We need, whoops, depleted. There we go. We need power, and then we just need the recipe. All right, so let's bring these items in. Hopefully we have enough of the process. Yes, we do. Awesome. We're remote requesting in because we never know when we might need to make something on a different planet, and we want to make sure that we always have a constant supply. Okay, so while that is crafting up what we need and while our science is going, I'm going to add some of the builds that I said I was going to add. So we're going to add in plastic, and I did say that we were going to use this stone. You know what, I'm not going to worry about it. We're going to bury this. We're going to bury a couple of other things that are in our way. Some of this oil, unfortunately. So I'm going to have a second plastic here. Particle broadband, I'm going to add one here, and that's probably going to be it for now. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then I will see you on the flip side. All right, we're back, and I have added, like I said, another particle broadband build here. We have another plastic, and I did go ahead and add a titanium build here. So I did do the same trick that I did with the iron before, and I'm bringing in some titanium ore from a couple of the surrounding areas. I did the same thing for the silicon ore back here. We have what we are producing, and then I have some right next door to go ahead and remote receive and locally provide. That is something that is going to start really not being an issue very soon, especially now that we have the purple science. Actually, that is something that we can probably go ahead and start to take care of. I believe we can do this. So this is going to increase the capacity of the machines. Oh, we can go again. Awesome. And the speed we need increased. What do we need? Drive engine 4. So that's going to be here. And we need mecha core level 4. Alright, so we can go ahead and unlock some of those as well. Gravity wave refraction. That is in the tech tree, I believe. Here? Alright, so we can go ahead and unlock that. That is strange matter. That is something we're going to be producing probably in the next episode. And then the gravity lenses, which gets us to the space warpers. Where did that go? So that is already in the queue. Then we needed the drive engine, and then we can do speed. Awesome. So that's quite a lot of stuff that we have queued up. Okay, so let's take a look at our Corvettes. We should have a few of them by now. Already at 200, nice. Oh, that's 50 per stack. Okay, well, that's fine. Not a big deal. Okay, so with the space, we now have 2 fleets, and you can see that there's an option for the destroyer here. We can't really change this, but we can go over and change the formation. So we're just going to go ahead and make both of these the Corvettes, and then we can add these into our little hangar. We might as well go ahead and add the other one as well and top it off. So you will need to keep whatever you have. Usually if you have some ground and some space, you would just kind of have a mix of all 2 or 3 or 4 or however many you have in your little filters. So that is what you need to do there. And then having the auto fighter replenishment takes whatever you have in your inventory and automatically adds into here when you are depleted. So let's give ourselves some more fuel. And we're going to go attack the dark fog. We are wiping them off the face of our solar system. So before I go and attack the Hive, I want to go to the other planets and make sure that we have cleared them off those planets. Alright, thankfully this one was fresh. This is the only one that I currently had on our other planets. So we do want to make sure, like I said, to get them all off. We now have a relay station that is headed back towards the Hive, and that will have all of the dark fog be in one area. So I'm going to get some more power, and then we're going to go take care of the dark fog. Okay, so as we're creeping up on the Hive, I've tried to conserve as much energy as we can, just in case we get attacked. We will need to replenish our shields. So they're going to start attacking us. They will start moving out around 3.3 to 0.5 astronomical units. So as we get closer, our space fleet will come out, and once we start to see some of them move towards us, we are going to bail. We're going to turn around now and draw them away. Hopefully we do not get the full fleet. All right, we got like half of it. We should still be fine though. So I've also turned off all of my automatic attacking, just in case we get too close. We don't want them attacking us. And we can slow down some too. That way we're not using a ton of energy to turn. We're just staying back. Our fleet is taking damage, but they're just out there doing their job. We also don't want to get too close to the Hive. They do have turrets there, so we don't want to engage those. All right, so more of the fleet is coming out. That's fine. We've lost about 25 fighters now. They are a little bit too close. So worst case scenario, we can maybe bail a little bit. Now we're starting to get attacked. So we can bail a little bit and then have them regroup. That way we can also kind of reset. Use a little bit of energy to get away a little bit. Man, our fighters are just staying out there and going at it. I have no idea where our guys went. And there they are. Well, a couple of them anyways. Okay, so it looks like a lot of the fleet was taken care of. So now they should start going in towards the Hive. Hopefully we have enough energy to finish this off. We are down over 50 fighters now. We brought 200 with us, I believe. We are really close to this. We are 100 fighters down. We are kind of running on fumes now. Okay, worst case scenario, we can always go back and get some more. Okay, yeah, I think at this point it is time to bail. We are going to be running out of fighters pretty soon, so we just need to go collect some more of our corvettes, get some more energy, and then we will be back to finish off the dark fog. Okay, so we have another, I have a little bit over 300 this time, so this is plenty enough to finish off the Hive. We do want to be cautious though, because it will start attacking us. Let's just get within range and our fighters will start to take care of the rest. We can, I believe we can manually tell them to go attack too. Alright, they are off. Yeah, this is a little tedious at the moment, but later on in the game we do get much more firepower. We get the destroyers and we get more fleets, so we can have multiple fleets out here taking them on. It's still a little bit one-sided in our favor at the moment. And like I said before, the dark fog on default settings is not that difficult. We are losing power, but thankfully we have double the capacity now. Since we've started to research some stuff, we got Mecha Core 4. And yeah, this is going to take a little bit of time, but this should be Like, we are pretty much in the clear now that their fleet is gone. Mostly gone. Excuse me.
Dark Fog Hive core destroyed.
Okay, and we have taken out the core, but that is not the end. So the core can revive, and the way that the core revives is there are, if I can find them, the relay stations can, yeah, there they are. So there are some relay stations out here still, so we will need to go attack those. So we need to enable our fleet manually, and we need to tell them to attack the relay stations. We need to be careful about using this though. The relay stations will create kind of like they are the seed for the next hive that would spawn here. So the downside of having this enabled, and I'm going to disable it now, is once we get to the point where we are actually farming the dark fog, which we're going to be doing hopefully in the next few episodes, they will actually destroy the relay stations, and that will ruin your dark fog farms. So that is something that you need to be cautious about using. But at this point, we can now officially say the dark fog is clear of our system. They are out in the rest of the world though, so there will be challenges coming up with dark fog on other systems, but we need to get to the point where we can actually travel to the other systems. So that is the next thing on the list. Upgrade. We now have the ability to create, the space warpers. So in the next episode, that is what we're going to be working on. We are going to make a build for, the strange matter first. This is going to be the first build that we create that uses the particle collider. I do have some being created on my mall. That is one of the five ingredient items. So we're going to make a build with the miniature particle collider, creating strange matter, which uses the particle containers largely. Particle containers, iron ingots, and deuterium. So we are finally going to get some more use out of the fractionator build that we created several episodes ago. And then we're going to make a build for the gravity lenses, which will then allow us to make some space warpers. That is a huge game changer once we add in the space warpers and the, where did it go? Technologies. Oh, come on. Yeah, once we get, what do we need still? Quantum chips. Okay, so we're going to have to unlock a lot of this, but once we get to the Mark III assembling machine and the space warpers, I kind of consider that to be entering the late game. So we are now transferring very soon from mid-game to late game, and yeah, so in the next episode, strange matter, gravity lenses, and hopefully space warpers. I will see you in the next episode, and thanks for watching.